Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Buck Roll. Alright, it's day 3 of my day off of work, and first priority for the day, I think, is that we need to have the locks all rekeyed. You know, it's always a good advice when you move into a new house, well, into someone else's former house, that you just have all the locks rekeyed. Now, I made an appointment to do that a few days ago, and the guy is supposed to be here anytime now. So I have about 8 locks that I think I want to have him redo. It's going to be the front door, the back door, the 2 doors going out into the garage, and there's 3 deadbolt locks on the storm shelter. Now, a couple people, when I mentioned this before, a couple people commented that maybe it's not a good idea to have the locks for the storm shelter keyed the same way as the rest of the locks in the house. And they're thinking of that from a security standpoint, because if someone had the key and got into the house and I needed to take refuge in there for my safety, it's maybe not the best idea for the same key to work on the storm shelter. So let me tell you why I don't think that's a legitimate or serious concern. Now, of course, we all remember this and how excited I was to originally find this. These are the 3 locks that I want to have them rekeyed, and let's turn some light on in here so we can see it once we close the door. You see, I also have these bars, and these bars go right there. So if I get inside here and need to secure this place, I have a bar that I can put there, and I have a bar that I can put down here, and nobody's getting into this place if I don't want them to. So that's why I'm not really terribly concerned about having those locks keyed the same way as the rest of the house. And then once that's completed, I think I actually want to start doing a little bit of painting today. That's why I'm kind of in my paint clothes today. I think I'm going to paint the cat's room, because I went over there over the storage locker today, trying to find where I had all my paint supplies, because I knew I had all that, and I found that, and I also found a bunch of brackets for shelves. And since I wanted to put the shelves up in the cat room before they move in, that allows me to do that. So I think that's going to be the project for today. I also need to call and make arrangements to get movers out here. Like I said before, I tried doing that a number of days ago, but since I couldn't meet with the guys because I was going to work at the time, kind of communication broke off and nothing came of that. So we're going to restart that again, try and see if we can get a mover in maybe next week sometime. Oh, and a mental note to myself, I think we're going to probably have to redo this patio cover, or this patio thing here. It's not holding up very well, and we had a little rain last night, and I can see water's pooling here, and that's probably part of the reason the grouting between the flagstones is kind of deteriorating, because if water puddles here, it can take a long time for that to dry, and that just erodes away all this grouting in between it. So I think we're going to probably have to just replace this at some point. You know, the flagstone going out to the pool is kind of fun, but you know, it's also kind of a bit of a trip hazard when you're out here at night. So I think what I'm going to probably do at some point is we're going to replace all this, and we're just going to put like a concrete patio out here, and we'll just have them lay concrete. I love the shape of this, so there's no reason we can't just follow the same shape, and then we'll just have a concrete path that kind of winds its way over to the pool. But that's a long ways in the future. Alright, so the locksmith was supposed to show up here sometime between 9:30 and 10. It's now 10:15, and apparently they're a no-show. So I'm gonna move forward with the painting here, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of strip this room down, take all the faceplate covers off, patch the holes in the wall. That'll buy a little time here, and then if he's just really late, then you know I won't be here. But I'm concerned about running off and buying paint at Home Depot if there's a possibility they're gonna show up while I'm gone. So let's just start ripping this place apart. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is going to patch up some of these holes. There's like some nail holes and screw holes, and I want to pull all those nails out and patch them up properly so that when we paint over it, you know, everything will look really nice, really consistent, really flush. Because yeah, there's obviously a bunch of things that have been hanging on the walls here, so. And I'm sure I'll probably find more, you know, there's holes up here. I'm just gonna have to look around here and kind of patch everything up. But that's kind of the first thing you want to do is get that done so that once you get to the point where you start painting, you paint over the patchwork and everything is nice and consistent looking. All right, so I've pulled out all the nails and there are a couple of drywall anchors. You can probably see them right here. They made some pretty big holes, but they'll be pretty easy to patch. I just got a little patching compound that I'll use with that. So I'm gonna take off all the light receptacles and electrical outlets and all that stuff. I don't need to actually take the outlets off. I just want to take the faceplate off. What I usually do, just to make sure I don't get any paint on the switches and on the outlets themselves, is I'll usually put like some masking tape over it. And I'm just going to put all the receptacles and stuff like that. They're just going to go in the guest bedroom right now. I just want to get them out of the way. And as you can see, this room was once a green color. So yeah, okay, that's fine. That's what they did. So I'll just, like I said, you take this all off, you kind of smooth it all off, and I'll paint all the way out to the edges here. And I'll just put a little tape over the outlets so we don't accidentally get paint on those. Alright, so I got all the electrical outlets off. There was also this funny little cap here, and apparently they had to get in there and do a little bit of work on the plumbing behind the wall, so they put this funky little cap over that, but that just slid right out, so that'll be real easy to paint. You know, electrical outlet there, electrical outlet there, electrical outlet, and cable access. There's actually a cable in there, so if I ever wanted to move a TV into this room, you know, keep the cats entertained or whatever, that's an option. And then of course we got the outlet off over here. We pulled all these off. I still want to pull these shelves off, and I need to take the drape hardware and the blinds down. So that all still needs to come out. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to kind of patch up these holes. I've made up a little patching compound. This stuff just comes as a powder. You mix in a little bit of water, you mix it up real well until it gets to about the right consistency, and then it just becomes a putty that you can kind of use to fill in the hole. Now a lot of people would use like a putty knife or something for that, but I find with this kind of rough texture, it's kind of hard to make it look good. And what you end up doing is having like a lump there, because the putty knife is always kind of being lifted up as a result of the the not exactly smooth surface. So I usually just do this with my finger. And first thing I want to do is, there's a little bit of paint, a little bit of gunk on the outside of this. So I just got a really, really big drill bit, and I'm just going to very slowly go over this just a little bit, just to smooth everything down. And now it's nice and smooth. There's nothing sticking up. And so the next thing I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm just going to use my fingers on this. I'm going to mash a whole bunch of this into the hole. Because basically what we want to do, this drywall, depending on the drywall used, it's usually about 1/2 inch thick. So what I really want to do is I want to kind of try and push it all the way in so that it's going through and actually maybe sticking out the back of it a little bit, because that's going to give you a stronger patch. If you don't do enough of this, then somebody bumps this and they're just going to punch out that little hole. The thicker you can make it, the better. And so I'm actually kind of pushing it into the hole as we do this and kind of smoothing it out with my finger. Get a little bit more. And then at the end, I am just going to go over it nice and smooth like that. And we're going to leave it real rough like this until it dries. Because once it dries, then I'll just go over this with like a sponge or something like that. All the surface stuff will wash off, and it'll be a nice smooth surface where the patch is. Now I got to do this about 50 more times. So just if you're really fascinated, you can skip back like 2 minutes and watch this section 50 times and you'll get the idea. But for the rest of you, you're just going to move on to the next scene. All right, so I got all the holes patched up. Those are the holes that used to hold the draperies. I don't think the draperies are going to go back in here, so I decided to patch those up. However, those are the holes that held up the blinds. And since I think the blinds are going to go back in, I left those holes unpatched, because we'll just use those again. But these are all holes that got patched up. I'm going to give them a little bit of time to dry. And I'll do that by going over to Home Depot and buying some paint right now. I think what I've decided I'm going to do in here is I'm going to paint this basically the same color that the cat room was in California. It was kind of a mint green color. I am going to keep kind of the theme here. I'm going to do a white roof, so there's something at Home Depot they call ultra white, and I really like that, and I think that's going to be kind of the common theme throughout the house. Is everywhere the ceiling is going to be painted ultra white, and then we're going to do the kind of lime green color. I'm going to keep keep this board here also white, as with the baseboards, they're going to stay white, and the frame. Now you'll notice I've also taken off the door. That's a big part of doing all this. It's not, painting isn't terribly difficult to do. You just have to do the prep work, and the prep work really means taking off taking everything off the wall. You'll notice I've even taken the blades off the fan. Now, if I was actually going to do this 100% right, I'd take that fan down, but I'm not going to do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of mask that with masking tape. And I'm probably going to do the ceiling first, because I usually like to start from the top and go down. Patched up a couple holes here. There was a fitting for a smoke detector, but the smoke detector they left with me didn't seem to fit the fitting, so I'm just going to do that. You recall that I did smoke detectors in the apartment, so I've got 4 smoke detectors that are going to come with me, and obviously we'll use those in here. So the key to all this, like I said, is just doing your prep work. It's very easy to get professional results from painting if you just prepare ahead of time, and it just, like I said, you got to pull everything off the wall that you don't want to get paint on. And so I think that is all that I have for today. Come back for the next video, and you're going to watch me paint this bad boy. In fact, I'm going to go out and buy the paint right now and do it in a little while, and during that time that should allow all these patches to dry, and then I'll go over them with a moist sponge and just kind of get rid of all of the excess, and then we'll be ready to paint. So thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.